You know, a couple days ago, I read a tremendous book. It's called Acres of Diamonds by a wonderful pastor named Jentezen Franklin. He's a New York Times best-selling author, and I commend this book to you. It's called Acres of Diamonds, and Jentezen is here with us right now. So let's see what he's got for us first.
New York Times best-selling author and pastor Jentezen Franklin says that it's time to open your eyes and see what's right in front of you.
I'm telling you that you shouldn't run from your trials. You shouldn't run from them, for in them you will learn more. You will become more. You will do more. Stay right there where you're under heat and you're under pressure, because only then can diamonds be born.
In his new book, Acres of Diamonds, Pastor Franklin shares how to dig deep during times of crisis, understanding that adversity can make you stronger.
Please welcome back to the 700 Club a good friend, Jentezen Franklin. Jentezen, God bless you. It's good to see you. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you, sir. It's wonderful to be with you.
You wrote this book called Acres of Diamonds. Tell us about that, and who was Russell Conwell?
Well, Russell Conwell was a man who was touring the Middle East back in the 1800s, the late 1800s, and he had an Arab guide who told him a story. He took that story, put it into a booklet. It sold 7 million copies in the late 1800s. He gave the speech 6,000 times, took the profits from that, and established Temple University off of one story.
Well, now the story is fascinating. This guy was told that in the sand there was these wonderful stones, and so he went looking for them all over the world. It turned out the biggest stone was in his own farm. To go into that, it's a fascinating story.
Yeah, you know, so there was this farmer in South Africa. His name was Ali Hafid. Of course, it's a true story, documented story. And he farmed and worked so hard. One day somebody told him, it's a shame you have to work so hard. All you should do is just go to India. They're discovering diamonds. There's a certain place and you can pick them up the size of rocks. So he sold the farm and everything and went searching for diamonds, never found them, tragically. Took his own life and left a note saying there are no diamonds anywhere. But the same man who bought the farm took the same plow and the same ox and the same fields and acres and began to dig and found these annoying rocks all over the place. And sure enough, somebody noticed that they were diamonds in the rough, and it became the world's largest diamond mine, the famous Golando diamond mines in South Africa, where royalty like the Queen of England get their diamonds from that place because of the fine quality. And of course, the message is, you need to value where you are right now. So many people, Pat, are always saying, if I had this, the grass is greener on the other side. If I had that marriage, that family, that job, or that life, I would be happy. When usually God has given you everything you need right every time, right where you are. There are unearthed acres of diamonds.
You know, I want a little testimony here. We had a prophecy. You go to the north and the south and the east and the west, and you don't know that right here is where the blessing was. Is when God broke through here on the 700 Club, where we saw a miracle and the whole town was shaken by the power of God. Then that started a worldwide ministry, but it was right here. The diamonds were right in Tidewater, our home community, so you're right on. Hey, listen, you were struggling as a pastor, and suddenly somebody comes to you and says, look, I'll put you on television. And what did you think?
Well, it wasn't my timing. It wasn't, you know, we had just moved into a new sanctuary that we'd built, and we had used all of our resources to do that. And all of a sudden, a guy by the name of R.W. Schambach, evangelist from years gone by, came by our church, and he gets up, and instead of taking an offering for his ministry, the Lord spoke to him to take one for mine, and he bought our television equipment. And that one offering back in the 80s, he raised $138,000 cash, and we bought our cameras and went on TV, and that on a little cable station right there in Gainesville, Georgia, and that began our ministry that has reached around the world. But you know, the point is this, that God's timing is different from our timing, and many times we leave where we are searching for some greater thing, and we fail to realize that if we just stay right where we are, when God puts us there, it's loaded with potential.
You've written some other books. I mean, your books have been very popular. This is a terrific book. What else have you written?
Well, I wrote one of our most popular books was the book on fasting. We did a book on fasting. It's funny, the publisher wanted me to do 3 books, and I said, I'll do 3 if one of them can be fasting. This was many years ago. And the one that became the New York Times bestseller was the one on fasting, the one that he was reluctant to publish. But you know, some of these themes, these old themes in the Bible, I believe God wants us to revisit. You know, Pat, when they took the bones of that servant and threw it into the grave where Elisha was, when a new generation touched the old bones, new life came to a new generation. And I believe that those prayer bones and fasting bones and worship and getting back to God and putting Him first in our life is exactly what America needs to have a remedy to this plague and to this problem that we're facing. It's time, it's prayer time in America.
Any tip for the country in these trying times we're in right now?
Yeah, I would encourage people. You know, I really think it's a moment where all of us are feeling the heaviness of it, almost like a glob of gloom, you know, that just has settled over our nation and the world. And we're in a situation similar to what David was in 1 Samuel 30, when his house was burned and his family was kidnapped and his own men turned on him and spoke of stoning him. And there's this turning point in all that tragic, dark, bad news. And it says, and David encouraged himself in the Lord. You do that by remembering past victories. You do that by remembering how faithful God has been in every situation in your life. And when he encouraged himself in the Lord, the word came from the prophet, pursue, for you shall recover it all, and spoils besides. You know, Pat, I don't think that we're just going to come out of this and maybe try to get back where we were. I believe that we serve a God who can restore, and we can recover it all and then some, and spoils besides. I believe one of those spoils besides is a wave of wonder that God is going to release in revival across the world.
I say a hearty amen to that. Brother, God bless you, and thank you for being with us. And again, folks, this book called Acres of Diamonds, you can get it wherever books are sold. Jentezen Franklin, you want to get a copy. It's really terrific. And Jentezen is a featured speaker on our prayer chapel today. So you can watch it at cbn.com. So thank you, my brother. God bless you and the work you're doing. We appreciate you.
Encouraging
Thank
word
you. I appreciate
in this hour,
you.
isn't
Amen.
it? Yes.
Tremendous. All right.